One of the serious problems that we have with Europe and the European Union, and which has worried deeply many people in Britain, is the influx of huge numbers of foreign workers who have come essentially for their benefit and our welfare if it's available. And of course it is available to their families. And it has been estimated that the contribution that these people have made to our society over their time here in the last 10 years or so, since our borders were effectively opened for us by Brussels, it has been suggested that the net contribution from each of these people is the equivalent of one chocolate bar a week. In the meantime, of course, we are now living in one of the most overcrowded parts of the world. We have at least double the population that demographers tell us is sustainable in the UK. Some 60 million as opposed to the 30 million that this country should and could support on its own. And there is absolutely no prospects, as long as we remain members of this, what I call lunatic asylum, and I have told them that to their faces, there is no prospect of our gaining control again of our borders until we leave the European Union. One of the other things which has become crystal clear to me in Brussels is that the Parliament itself is an expensive charade. It is the equivalent of a fig leaf pretending to provide democratic accountability, whereas in fact it is there to provide an illusion of democratic accountability. The European Parliament cannot initiate legislation. It absolutely has no powers to repeal legislation, and all it can do is monitor and try and minimize the damage of the legislation that is proposed by unelected officials masquerading under the public face of the Commission itself. Those commissioners are advised by up to 3,000 secret committees, about whom we know very little indeed. It took us 3 years to find out who they were, what their names were, the committees themselves. We still don't know who sits on them. We don't know what their brief is. We don't know what powers they have. We don't know what budgets they're working to. And above all, we cannot call them to account, and we cannot sack them. And yet they are the heartthrob of what goes on beneath the Commission. And lastly, I want to just say a word about the Commission itself. They have done immense damage to this country. My postbag over the last 5 years has been absolutely full of letters from businesses and individuals who have had their lives or their businesses damaged in some way or another. And it goes on and on. And whenever one asks questions of the Commission about did they realise what they were doing or the effects of what they are planning, their reaction is one of shrugged indifference, because they know perfectly well that there is absolutely nothing that anyone like me as a member of the Parliament can do to stop them. Years ago, President Gorbachev, after he lost office in the USSR, described the EU as the old Soviet Union in new Western clothing. I believe he was right. The only difference that I can detect is that the Soviet Union used to slaughter its enemies, and nowadays the European Union tends to buy them off. And they buy them off with our money. And I have said in my last speech in Parliament, only recently, one day you will discover that you cannot be masters in someone else's house.